Hey everybody, welcome back to the VIP Financial Ed YouTube channel. Today we're going to be doing something special. I'm going to be having a one-on-one conversation, a coaching session in a sense, with a viewer just like you. If you'd like to get your own one-on-one time with me and a complimentary coaching session, no strings attached, check the link in the description and reserve your time now. Spots are filling up quickly, so don't delay. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button and drop a thumbs up for me if you don't mind. These calls do take a considerable amount of time. I have a very busy schedule. I run a handful of different businesses, and so I just do this as both a courtesy to you guys. I love it. This is one of my favorite parts of my day, is being able to interact with viewers and try to help you guys go further, faster financially. So we're gonna dive in. Today we've got Alejandro, and it should be a very exciting call. Let's get going.
Hey, Matthew, how you doing?
I've got you now, my friend. So you prefer Alex to Alejandro?
Yeah, Alex is fine.
Okay. Good to meet you, my man. How are you?
Doing good. Been waiting for this video for about like 5-6 years.
Oh, no kidding. Okay. Well, this will be a lot of fun then. I can't wait to learn about you. I'm here to help you any way I can, just to get us kicked off on the right foot here. I have no agenda today. Okay, so I'm here at your disposal. Sounds like you may have been a follower of the channel for some time, so I'm excited to know what you want to take away from the conversation, and really just stay focused on your priorities. So tell me how you first came across our information.
Man, that's a good one. I mean, it all started with that famous book, Robert Kiyosaki, 5-6 years ago. Read the book, got me pumped up. And, started watching his videos on YouTube. And I must have ran across your video that way, because that's the only, way I could think about it. And just watched videos here and there. And like, oh, one day I'm going to sign up for the free coaching session. And I did, but it was like a 3-month waiting period for it. And when I did get that phone call, at that time, my mindset wasn't there yet. And I was going to jump on the program, and it was like $250 a month. And to me, that was like a lot of money at that time. So I was like discouraged, and still kept reading and researching Robert Kiyosaki through the times. And later on, I got pumped up again, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try another coaching session. But I guess you weren't taking anymore. And just time went on, and I still kept watching your videos. And because of your videos, man, I set myself up for success here, just on your videos and the books I read. And I'm ready for the next step, pretty much. I've been able to raise my credit score, get more credit cards. And just recently, I paid off big chunks. And in like 3 weeks, all my limits went up. So that got me really excited. So here I am, ready for that next step. I think my mind's mature now, ready for it. I see a bigger picture now than 5 years ago. And I'm ready for that coach. What is it when the student is ready, the coach will appear?
That's right. Hey, congratulations on all your progress so far. I got to hand it to you. It takes a lot of discipline, takes courage, takes consistency, and to see the results that you've been getting, it proves that you've been dedicating yourself to the process and taking the steps. And there's nobody that can do it except for you. Doesn't matter how many coaches you have. So you've got to be more excited about getting those results than your coaches are for you. We can't drag you along. Accountability certainly helps. I think it can provide some wind in your sails. And I'm a big believer in having mentorship and coaching in my life. And I know that our contributions in other people's lives have been very positive for many years. But again, it boils down to you doing the work. And so I want to just start by giving you that praise. What would leave you satisfied today? When we get off the phone, what's going to let you say, man, that was such a helpful conversation. I got exactly what I was hoping for.
Game plan, blueprint, a map, direction, steps. Right. Pretty much say, take these steps, and that's what you're going to need to get to where you're going.
So in order to create a game plan, having data is a necessity, of course. And, we use the information totally objectively. As much as we can remove the emotion from the equation as possible, the better. It's not an easy thing to do with money. So we just want to try as best we can to just stay focused on the information and derive the steps from that data. And so let's kind of start with that. Let me just kind of break it down where your starting point is right now. Sounds like you made some progress too. So I'm interested to hear some more detail about, where you came from as well. You currently live in California, right?
East Los Angeles right now.
Okay. And you say right now, are you planning on moving at some point?
Yeah, right now I'm living with my girlfriend. I grew up more in the San Gabriel Valley area, which is like 20 minutes from here. But I've been
Okay.
here in East LA for about a year and a half now. And
Okay.
it's been a good experience.
Okay. And you want to move closer to your origin then? You want to
Man,
get back to where you grew up?
my dream house is out there in Pasadena.
Okay.
You familiar with that area?
It's
The Rose
beautiful.
Bowl? Oh, man. I started actually, now that I think about it, I was washing dishes. That job was fun at a convalescent hospital. And I think that's around the time I started listening to your videos, because at the same time, I started going to school to become a truck driver. So, driving up to Pasadena, and this one time there was a marathon. So, the police was like, you got to go around. And I went through streets that I've never been through. Beautiful, beautiful houses, neighborhood. And that's where I'd like to end up.
That's awesome. I think having a lot of certainty about what you're wanting to achieve is critical for really putting a game plan together. If you don't even know where you want to go, how can you build a map? And it's shocking how many people don't know where they want to end up. Shocking. I have to include myself in that category at one point. I mean, I remember back when one of my mentors had asked me, what if you kind of had your magic wand life, what would it be? And I remember struggling with that question so much. It almost caught me by surprise how much I was struggling to come up with an answer. I had to even sleep on it. And the best I could do, which was about 24 hours later, was sort of a high level generality of I want to be able to travel anywhere, anytime, stay as long as I want, and do what I want while I'm there, both generously and selfishly, and not worry about price tags. I didn't really necessarily have any specific locations in mind at that point. So I really had to dial it in to get to the specificity that you're sort of giving me with the answer to that question as far as Pasadena. So another green checkbox for you as far as your ability to start narrowing down what you're hoping for. So that's great. And you're currently driving still? Is that what you do for a living?
Yeah, so it's been about 7 years. Was a dishwasher. I had gotten my income tax money, and I was in my early 20s. I wanted to keep partying, man. I wanted to go be a bartender. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a bartender. And my friend's like, hey, man, I just got my Class A license. You should go get it. There's a school right down the street. I did not know anything about truck driving. We went down the street, talked to the instructor, and on his wall, he had a bunch of pictures of all his students, and he was telling me all their stories. This guy, drug addict, came out of prison, all these hard stories, but they overcame. And now he owns 5 trucks, 10 trucks. He owns a house. And that hooked me. That just got to me right there and then without knowing anything. Put my deposit and became a truck driver. Started going to school to become a truck driver. And 9 months later, I started that journey. And I think that's going to help me a lot here, because being a truck driver, even though it was local, I was going everywhere to cities I've never been to before. And I was exposed to the real estate and going to different cities and understanding that and just daydreaming about that. So I was an employee for at least 5 years, did some construction, and around 2020, when the pandemic happened, an opportunity came. One of my friends had branched off and bought his own truck, and he was calling me, telling me how that was. And so work got really slow for us in my company. And the government was like, hey, for everyone that you're cutting your hours, we're going to give you guys a stimulus check. So I was working 3 days a week, and I, got a side job for Thursday and Friday, and plus the stimulus check. And my friend was telling me how much he was making a week. And that pumped me up. So I saved up all my money, which was about like $11,000 within like 2 months. And I just, without knowing anything again, I took that leap of faith, went and got my EIN, went window shopping for trucks, and it happened quick, and became an owner operator now. So I'm like independent, and I've been doing that for about 2.5 years now. And it's just been kind of like, next step and next step. And here I am now, ready for the next step.
Well, you answered my next question. I was curious whether you were W-2 or independent driving. So congratulations on that. Goes to show you in a way that, taking some of these things, these chances that feel really risky in the beginning sometimes, that you really, it's a necessity to get ahead, of course. And I think sometimes in retrospect, as you look back, some of the things that I felt were really risky at the time possibly were actually less risky than the alternative choices that I had. I mean, had you decided to stay with whatever company you were driving with before, who's to say where you'd be now? I mean, just because somebody has a job and they're working for someone else is no guarantees that that job will be there tomorrow. Taking a chance and starting your own thing feels so risky and a big gamble, but an argument could be made that there's a lot more control over what the outcome is because it all falls on your shoulders. And I think that perhaps is part of the fear for some folks as well. So I admire your bravery. It takes a lot. And especially if you've always sort of been an employee up till that point, a lot of times that transition's that much harder. So well done.
Never going back.
I love it. I mean, at this point, it's easy for you to see that. And I can say the same thing as well. I can't even imagine working for somebody else again. It's been so long since I have. I don't think I would make it. I just don't. So, all right. Well, that's great. So, what do you anticipate your household income to be this year then?
Like what I'm going to make at the end of the year?
Yep. What are you expecting to earn through this year, 2022?
Well, let me just add to that story. Bought my first truck, 2020, middle of pandemic. I was okay, making okay money. My truck was stolen at month 10.
Wow. Okay.
I parked it in the street Thanksgiving weekend. Okay. Big hit, man. Big hit. Most people would have gave up, tapped out, crushed their souls. I was smart enough through all the videos that I've been watching to have saved up money, plus the little bit of insurance money they gave me back. Bought another truck. I mean, and by this time, everything was expensive. My $42,000 truck, same year, same miles, cost me $70 now.
Oh wow!
With everything, taxes and everything. So I've built myself up again, and so I had that obstacle, and so I didn't work for like 4 months. So I think maybe I'm at 100,000 for the end of this year.
Okay.
So I think I have all my paperwork. I haven't even written everything down, but I'm because it was pretty good when I jumped back on like around March. I was making about like 4,000 a week. So I mean,
Great.
That's what I'm estimating.
Great. And what do you anticipate earning in 2023?
Sky's the limit. I don't know.
No projections yet?
I want to get out of the truck. I've been, the LA traffic's gotten to me already. So I really don't have a number. I know I want it to be more than what I made this year, but I wouldn't know how to calculate that because I want to get someone to drive for me now, and that way I could focus on this more. So it's kind of hard to give a number, but more than 100 for sure.
I mean, it certainly sounds like it's a realistic objective. If you were pulling 4K a week, it can safely put you at almost 200. What goals of yours can I specifically help you with?
Good question. So I want to show you first my first debt weapon that I acquired just recently that got me even more pumped up. Let me show you.
Let's go, baby.
Thank you to the Los Angeles County. I don't know if you can see really well.
Yeah, look at this.
Got a grant.
Amazing. $5,000 grant. Good for you.
Yeah. And I was watching videos on that for a while, and those applications were confusing, super confusing. And went to the LA City was having an event to give cats and dogs free shots. We went, had a bunch of booths. I saw paper, looked at it, talked about grants, and did the application. It was way easier, and I qualified, and they gave me a $5,000 grant.
That's awesome. I love that story. That's awesome.
No,
So what's your credit like now?
great question. So when my truck was stolen, I had two options. What do I do? I didn't want to go back to trucking. I'm not gonna lie, because it really broke my soul. So another option was, because I had been speaking with someone, a real estate agent for a while, and I was like, "Hey, man, I got back like 30,000. That's like a down payment." And so we were, going through those conversations. He's like, "Well, the next step is you got to run your credit, see where you're at, see how much borrowing power you have." So in January 2022, I wrote it down. My FICO score, they did the whole mortgage one, 737. So that's, even that one caught me off guard. I was like, wow, I've been doing really good because of your videos. From way back then, I've been setting myself up to where I'm at now. So
Way to go. Way to
go. This was not an accident. This was planned out, like, strategically.
So that was about a year ago. Do you know of any derogatories or any reason the scores would have come down from January till now?
Just a minimum one at Bob's Furniture. I went just to go buy a couch, and it was a lease to own program. And I was like, no, don't run my credit. Like, I'd rather do the lease where they don't run your credit. And the dude ran my credit. It came out good, but it's still that just one little blemish.
Got the inquiry. Got it.
Inquiry, there you go.
No big deal. No big deal. That'll all be fine. Okay, so let's go back to the question I asked a minute or two ago. What would be the priority for you from me? What can I help you with specifically where you'll feel like you're getting as much value from our time today as possible?
Acquiring debt weapons, in the sense where using other people's money or these credit lines that you speak about, to use them to get real estate. So I have two goals that I have. Goal number one is I need a home base, a house where I could work from. This is my home base. But according to, Robert Kiyosaki, you don't want to buy the house first. You want to buy the business first. So that's my goal. Number two is buying apartment units and not having to use my money, using the debt weapons, using those credit lines to, for down payments. And I need to learn I would like to learn how to acquire those, because I can't just go into a bank and, speak for myself without not having that knowledge. So need help with those two goals that I have.
So we use the term debt weapons. You're obviously extremely familiar with that. It's just a trademark term that we came up with, thought it was a lot of fun. It's a little deceptive because it sort of implies that they're only used to attack and eliminate debts. That's certainly one advantage to having debt weapons and manipulating the way that your debts are serviced, prevent as much interest costs as possible, pay the debts off a lot more quickly. The second, and in many cases, even more valuable benefit to having these tools is that you can grow. You can create new income streams. And the fact is, when you're looking at any type of accounting statement, profit and loss, the cash flow cruncher, there's really two sides of the ledger, right? We've got your income and assets, and then we've got your liabilities. The liabilities where the debts would fall. There's a maximum potential of how quickly you can accomplish your objectives, like paying debt off, with the existing ingredients. In order to accelerate it mathematically, you would have to add new ingredients, and therefore, I often will spend as much time as possible focusing on that income and asset side of the balance sheet, because the income and asset side has an unlimited potential. We can both agree that there are people making billions per year, right? Billions, which means that as human beings, we all are sort of blessed with an equal opportunity. Some of us have circumstances that might make things more challenging, but ultimately, it's fair to say that the majority of us have the ability to achieve unimaginable revenue we never thought would be possible in younger years. And that is extremely encouraging to me. And I think it was a deficiency in my original planning personally, because I spent so much time concentrating on the debt side, and where there was a capacity to what you could achieve. It was like there's a best case scenario. There really is no best case scenario with earning potential. And I love that, because if you're talking about things like buying real estate, buying apartment buildings, the ultimate debt weapon is income. The ultimate debt weapon is income. And if you're trying to acquire real estate, having enough money to put money down versus using debt weapons as an alternative to you coming up with your own down payments can oftentimes reduce the returns on that investment substantially enough to where one could argue it may not even be worth it. You're essentially 100% financing something at that point, right? And with interest rates the way they are now, if you're not coming up with a down payment on a property, whether it be a single unit or multi-unit, the ROIs are certainly not impressive enough to me to where I'm going to be excited about it as an investor. I would rather take the same energy it's going to take me to try to get into that property and make it to the closing table, because going through the identification process of a property that's worthwhile enough still, going through the loan application process to get into the mortgages, to find the right debt weapons to avoid a down payment, it's a lot of effort and will take a much higher number of hours of commitment from you than I think people often expect on the front end of those types of projects, because so many people make the mistake of referencing those type of investments as passive. So they, in their minds, have already accepted this concept of passivity, which I think is also deceptive. I don't think that that's really realistic in most ventures that we're going to focus on. So if I'm going to be taking all this time and effort to try to make it to the closing table on something that doesn't produce very impressive ROIs, why not take that same time and energy and potentially significantly less money and go out and find a way to make more money that I can then eventually use to make that long-term net worth investment down the road. I have found real estate investing to be so much easier once I solved what I call the short-term net cash flow equation. Okay. If you could find a way, for example, to take these new skills that you've been developing for the last 7 years, whereby you're, understanding what it's like to have your own registered company, you have your own independence, and you're earning revenues all by yourself, and you can find a way to scale it out. You mentioned, I'd love to get out of the truck. Well, that'd be fabulous. What if you were to, follow a similar business model to your friend who has multiple trucks now, right? And I'm sure is potentially bringing on other drivers at this point. Perhaps there is an avenue for you to scale up that level of business or other businesses, or because why focus singularly? I have a handful of companies that are all profitable. And that diversification also offers me additional safety and security too, because if something were to happen to one business unexpectedly, as it did during the pandemic, I wasn't, putting all my eggs in that one basket, or I would have been in trouble. So, focusing your energy and effort in a way where you're managing your time, you have the road mapping process underway, and you have a clear-cut understanding of your plan during each day. And you're able to diversify your attention into potentially multiple projects, and you get your net cash flow position to a level that supports you then going out and making long-term real estate acquisitions. I think you would find it to be a faster road and easier road to building not just wealth for yourself personally, but generational wealth for a family I'm assuming you eventually want to be having too. So that would be my broad level suggestion to you, is focus on ways that are going to pay you. And I, in the early stages of building my businesses, was so obsessed with real estate, thinking that it was going to be the way out. And one real quick calculation I did recently on another call similar to this, that just continues to reinforce how wrong I was back then in my early 20s, is think about it this way. Look, if you can get even just $500 a month in positive cash flow per door, whether you're buying a single unit or multi-unit property, you're killing it. That was a competitive number before interest rates started going up, before inventory levels started to increase, before days on market went up. Now, if you're finding $500 per door, it's becoming more and more rare and more competitive. So let's use that number as what I like to refer to as an unrealistically conservative starting point here. Okay. I don't think it's that. I think it would be unrealistically optimistic that you could go out and repeat over and over and over $500 per door net cash flow positions from long-term buy and hold rentals. What do you think is a fair purchase price for a $500 per month net cash flow rental property at this point?
So you're asking me for $500 of profit?
Yep. What do you think you'd have to spend to buy that property?
Man, no minimum than $800,000 here where I live, man. I mean, I know
it's a very California, it's a very California answer of you, but you're right. So let's assume for a second, and I want to be fair to the other viewers that might be in areas of the country that don't have sticker prices quite that high. Let's be, again, unrealistically optimistic here, just to prove my point, and round it down to $500,000. You okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. $500,000 coming up with 20% down, because you'll never get $500 in cash flow if you're going to find a way to finance the down payment, right? If you have to finance the $100,000 down, you're going to be paying interest and principal on that borrowed money, along with the mortgage, plus the taxes and insurance and maintenance and possible vacancies, et cetera, that you'll be having to supplement too. So, all of that combined is not going to leave you $500 unless you're coming up with the 100K. So you're coming up hypothetically in this example with 20% down payments on $500,000 properties to get $500 left over each month, $100,000 per pop. And let's say you want $10,000 a month, which I find is one of the most common benchmarks for people to hit before they can start thinking about 25K a month or 50 or even $100,000 months. You got to get to that 10. It's like, crawl before you walk before you run type of idea. So let's say that to get to 10,000, how many properties would you need if each one of them is profiting 500 per month?
Well, sir, I'm kind of a little ahead on that because I looked for a coach for real estate as well. And according to him, you just need one really good property to have good results. So, man, you would be looking for something with a lot of units. Nothing.
Okay,
with
so multi-unit. Yeah. So how many doors? Let's start with doors then. How many doors would you need at $500 profit per door in order to get to $10,000 per month?
Man,
in your back pocket?
You're talking about like one of those more than 50 doors.
You would. Well, let's just do the basic math, right? $10,000 divided by $500 is how many?
10,000 doors divided by 5.
No, $10,000 divided by $500 is how many doors?
Yeah, you got me there.
So $10,000 divided by $1,000 would be 10 doors, right? So if you were getting $1,000 in cash flow, you would only need 10. If we're getting only $500 in cash flow per door, you would need 20 doors, right?
Okay.
So if you're getting 20 doors and the average door is being rounded down to a $500,000 purchase price, and you've got to come up with $100,000 on each $500,000 door, and you need 20 of them, we're now at $2 million out of pocket just to get to 10K a month in revenue. That doesn't count closing costs on each one of those doors. That doesn't count any fix up or repairs that might need to be done on each one of those properties too, right? So let's just assume for a second that we're being really unrealistically optimistic again here, and closing costs are only 2%. Closing costs are usually closer to 3. Let's say it's 2, because it's somewhere usually between. Let's 2% on $500,000 is another 10 grand times 20 properties. So now we're at another $200,000, right? So we're at $2,200,000 out of pocket so far to get to 10K. Then you might have to do some repairs, because we're assuming at $500,000 these properties in Cali are just pure garbage. Anywhere else in the country, you can still get a decent property for $500,000, but in California, going to be a little tricky. Let's assume that you only need $5,000 on average per door in some basic repairs, maybe some carpet, maybe some paint. We're just throwing lipstick on it at this point, right? 5,000 times 20 doors, we're at another 100,000. So we're at $2.3 million, and we now have 20 properties that we can rent, and we'll hopefully collect that 500 per month per door, 10K per month. How realistic is it, in your opinion, that the average household is going to ever really be able to get to that level? By
Not
just
really.
pure hustle and savings. It's not very easy. I mean, this is something that I don't think is going to be realistic for many folks at all, not unless you really spend your time focusing on solving that short-term net cash flow equation. And I have to regularly come back to this as a case in point, because 2 years ago, I had the opportunity to invest in a partnership to offer drain solutions where we do scoping and hydrojetting. It's basically in the plumbing industry, and we clean out sewer mains and septic drains and so forth. I obviously am not the hands-on guy. I'm more of the fundamental guy. I work on all the administrative foundational stuff and the marketing side of it. And I'm also the money person. I came in with a $50,000 investment on that. I used a debt weapon to do it. And first year took away $70K myself personally. That's a significant ROI. That's $6,000 a month as a base, plus bonuses on top of that, or additional member distributions that my business partner and I share evenly when there's additional profit. This next year, this second year that we're finishing right now, December is our anniversary of our second year. We're going to almost exactly hit 2x what we did year one. So very realistically, distributions, because we purchased some additional equipment, we've brought on additional staff members. We're not going to double distributions, but my take this year will be closer to $100,000. One thing I like to point out about that $50,000 investment was that 40K of it was built in as a promissory note to the business and is being repaid by the business. So technically, I only came in with $10,000 of seed capital. Now, as a guy that's obsessed with real estate, I always start by comparing what could I do with real estate and any other opportunities that come up. I'm bouncing it off of that baseline. Okay, what can I do with real estate, and everything else I'm comparing to the real estate question. I cannot find a property where I could put $50,000 in, have no additional debt whatsoever, like a mortgage, and expect to pull $6,000 a month out, right? And the business is paying to service the $50,000 debt, which 40 of it anyway. How could I ever come even close to that with a piece of real estate? I couldn't. And that business, even though I am a 50% owner of that business, only requires a very small amount of my time every week. Somewhere at this point around 5 hours. Now I'm making some pretty big sacrifices because I spend a lot of time traveling for work, and I've been able to spend quite a bit of my time on the East Coast for the last year and year and a half, really. So I'm not near Colorado. I'm actually going to be relocating as much of my time back in Colorado as I possibly can, in spite of it being frigid cold temperatures right now. I'd much rather be in Florida enjoying 70-degree weather. And yet I'm going to be packing up. I'm going to be selling a property that I use as a work location in Florida just to go and work on that business. So it does require sacrifices to certainly build on these side hustles. These side hustles are usually a more proactive effort. I try to remind people again that even though long-term buy and hold real estate, like an apartment building, and sure.
I did not, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I have not seen that video you just posted like a couple of days ago, right? Like 2-3 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't gotten around to see it, but I wanted to bring that up, but you did first.
Got it. Yeah. Ultimately, you are, you're going to be committing a lot of time to something either way. Okay. But I am just trying to point out that a lot of these different business ventures realistically are going to require your ongoing consistent effort every day. You got to be knocking things off the checklist every single day. Most of the time, it's 7 days a week. And it shouldn't feel much like work. If these are passion projects and you're focusing on things that you really are excited about, it's not going to feel like it's work. But you are going to have to wake up wanting to get things done. You're going to have a hard time going to sleep at night because you're so excited about getting things done. That's the way it should work. That's the way it works with the things that I focus on. The reason I'm pointing that out to you is how much easier does it get for me to buy real estate as somebody that still wants to be purchasing real estate if I go out and focus my effort first on something that can bring in another $6,000, $7,000, $10,000 a month of income that I don't already need because I'm already paying my bills with my primary source of earnings. This is just an additional revenue stream. If I have another 10K every month left over, it becomes exorbitantly easier for me, right? Because I'm able to collect that $100,000 to buy a $500,000 property every 10 months. Well, if I have 10K. So my recommendation on the front end of this is don't necessarily get caught up where you're linearly focused on real estate exclusively. I'm not trying to detour you from your enthusiasm towards real estate. I want that to remain. In addition to that, I find that people have a bad habit of putting blinders on. And because of their laser focus, they oftentimes miss out on other opportunities, myself included. Because I was so laser focused on real estate for the first 10 years of my career, the needle just wouldn't move. And I'm telling you, you might get to that 20 doors and find that it's really making an impact on your lifestyle. But until you realize enough of a portfolio to see deep multiple thousands in profit left over every single month, it's unusual that you're going to be sitting in some room counting all your money, taking extravagant trips and blaming your long-term rental properties for it. You just aren't. Most of us that own real estate and have owned real estate as landlords for a long time, including multi-unit myself, I mentioned this recently, that it more often than not feels like the properties are making me broke. Not making me rich, making me broke.
Just like a semi truck, man, it'll break down, and you're one breakdown away from losing it all. Sometimes that's how quick it is for things to go bad. I can relate to that. I mean,
that's a good comparison.
Every time something breaks down, it's like a couple zeros added to that, debt at the end. So I could relate to how expensive it could be to maintain a property. I could relate to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, to acquire and then to maintain. So it is a very, very expensive way of getting rich. Let's put it that way. It's not really until 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the road that I actually started seeing, oh, okay, well, this is why. And really that was based on what it was showing on paper. It was because I'm now seeing equity positions that are still just sort of, it looks good, but as far as the cash flow, it's really not my long-term rental properties that influence my lifestyle at all. It's my short-term rentals as far as real estate. It's my property management as far as real estate, because not only do I own short-term rentals, but I also manage other people's short-term rentals and take a percentage of the profits to do that. And that is a short-term net cash flow solution. Short-term rental properties are a version of a short-term net cash flow solution. You can still be in real estate and have short-term net cash flow, the equation being solved. That also goes for example, real estate agents. Now, I don't necessarily recommend somebody get into real estate as an agent for the sole purpose of being an independent agent and having, giving yourself a job. Again, I only enter into things that I know are scalable. Any business I'm going to step into, I have to see a way that it can be scaled up to at least 7 figures. Doesn't mean I'm going to do it. Doesn't mean it's necessarily ever going to happen, but I at least have to know that I can. And until you're really out there doing it, you don't know whether you're going to like it, right? I mean, I have to know that I can scale an Airbnb business or a short-term rental business. I hate to say, call it Airbnb, but scaling a short-term rental business, I can see a way to get it to $1 million. But until I'm actually managing a short-term rental, how do I know if I enjoy it? I have to get one first, and I may hate it. I think I'm going to like it. That's why I get in, but it could be different than I expect. And if I end up not liking it, chances are I'm not going to build it up to $1 million or more. But I at least going in see other people running $1 million short-term rental businesses. Okay, so I encourage you to follow a similar format to that, not to really step your toes into anything unless you can see a 7-figure roadmap. Through example, you find other people that are doing it. And if I'm in your shoes, it would start right at home base. Home base for you should be the trucking industry. I would be finding as much content as possible. And given that you're a information kind of guy, you've probably already done some of this, where you're on YouTube and you're finding these owner operator drivers that have found a way to incorporate what they're doing in the space, in the industry, to succeed. And there might be some really out of the ordinary ways of going about doing it. I mean, I've seen auto mechanics that have millions of subscribers, right? Do you have any idea the impact that you can have on your bottom line by being somebody that does something like start a YouTube channel?
Man, it's crazy. I mean, little kids, 5-year-olds are making more money than I am.
No doubt.
Just reviewing
Exactly.
stuff.
That's so true. And when you're an owner operator too, you have a lot more to gain. It's no different than with our drain business. We started a YouTube channel as well. And it's not because of, the perverts out there that want to watch these drains unclog, which is absolutely disgusting. And it's crazy because I found other drain-based YouTube channels. I looked into this before we even got into this venture. I said, I need proof that there's other ways that people are making money. And I found YouTube channels with hundreds of thousands of subscribers and videos getting hundreds of thousands of views of people that are just gross. And they like to see that stuff. It's like the pimple popping community. They just go on and watch videos of that crap. This is disgusting. But there's also money in eyeballs. If I have an audience, then I can get paid, which means that equipment manufacturers could sponsor us, right? Or they might just be able to, we might be able to get deep discounts. It's already worked without even having the audience yet, showing that, hey, we have another channel that's done well. We're building a channel here. We'd love to showcase your equipment over other equipment. We've hand selected you. We like your stuff the best. We would love to form some form of JV with you where we showcase your stuff, but we would want to see what type of a discount you can give us on our purchases. And we were able to get significant discounts on the original purchases of, tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. As an independent owner operator yourself, you could get everything from tires to maybe interior to accessories to engine work to maybe even a new rig someday. Who knows, right? Depending on how big you end up getting. My point is, I don't think people think creatively enough using modern technology on various ways to diversify revenue streams.
And I would like to add, the downside to have been a truck driver for 7 years is that it has taken a lot of attention away from what's going on out here in society, specifically with YouTube videos and content creators and all that. I feel like I've fallen behind in technology a little bit, just like what happened to my desktop. I didn't even know it was running that old Windows, and I'm just like, man, I'm behind, and I'm gonna catch up, because I am seeing, like, literally the last 2 years, like, are people like really becoming this wealthy off of videos? Man, I gotta start my own. Like, it's just crazy the amount of money that's being made through videos and content, and working with other people to scale that up. It's just crazy. I'm just like, man, I literally missed out on that, but I want to catch up.
Yeah, well, I mean, missed out implies that you can't just start anytime. You can start anytime. And the good news about technology is they don't create new technology, and innovation doesn't happen without things becoming more user-friendly, easier, faster. The whole purpose of innovation is efficiency. They want more clients, not fewer. They want more people paying for their various resources and tools, not fewer. They don't want only the smart people. They want dum-dums like me, which means video editing stuff is better than it's ever been. It means cameras are better than they've ever been. It means you can literally do all of this with nothing more than a smartphone and some good natural lighting, which means you don't even have to purchase lighting. You can literally just be near a window somewhere, right? It means that the sound quality is so much better. You can buy cheap little microphones, stuff like this, or, I've got a lapel here, right? Lapel mic. Things like this are very inexpensive now. So the good news to you, by being a little later to the party, and you're still early, make no mistake, thinking that you've missed something is definitely not the case.
And let me ask you something. The metaverse, that a couple months ago, that they're selling real estate in that now, like that's insane. And I'm like, I can't miss out on that. And I haven't done my homework, but have you gotten into that? Is it profitable yet? Or do you see that being scaled yet to $1 million? I haven't really done too much.
Well, I think everything is possible. Until I'm an active participant, it's tough for me to speak on things. Obviously this is just my opinion. I do think digital assets are the way of the future. I am a participant in digital assets, no question about it. I've been active in sharing with this community about my approach to dollar cost averaging through crypto. Certainly seen quite a level of volatility with that, of course, and who knows where it's going to go. I mean, it could get way, way worse before it gets better. I'm a long-term believer. I'm a believer in the blockchain and the space. I'm a believer in the virtualization of the future. All I have to do is go into any restaurant, any day, anytime, and just observe what families do with their time, and you'll hardly be able to find anyone under the age of 15 that's not sitting there on their device. This is trend observations are not that difficult. So to think that next future generation is not going to be almost entirely tech oriented, I think would be unrealistic. I think you definitely need to be betting on technology and the virtualization of things, but as to who's going to be the front runner on that stuff, hard to say. Obviously, Meta's putting the most money into it, unsuccessfully at the moment, but it's cool. I mean, I still think it's cool. I mean, and you know, if you can be on the front end of things, I think there's definitely more speculation involved. There's probably a higher upside potential. You know, Bitcoin used to cost $1. So you can, you can get early, but sometimes you find out later that nothing ever really ended up transpiring, and that may be a waste of time and money down the road. So hard to say, but I think the trend is pretty obvious, going to be geared towards technology.
Okay, sounds good. So yeah, I'm a student. I'm willing to learn. That's what I'm here to do.
Let me ask a couple other questions if you don't mind. So how much debt do you have right now? You said you've got this new truck, cost you $70K. What do you owe on the truck right now?
40.
Okay. And do you have any other?
Exactly.
How much?
43. 43,000.
Got it. And any other debts?
Just credit card debt. I mean, I've literally
how much do you owe on credit cards right now? Total.
Credit cards, I wrote down right here, 3,585.
585. Okay, great. How much net cash flow do you anticipate you have if you were just running some basic calculations?
How much do I have put away?
Yep. How much? No, not stockpiled. I'm just asking each month how much is left over on average. Have you been able to calculate that for yourself yet?
Not
after
that
all
exact.
of your bills are paid, after you pay for your truck, you pay for fuel, pay for food, you pay for your bills, how much do you generally have left over at the end of each month?
I would say 80% of what I make. Like, I've disciplined myself to like just live super simple, and I have like bad habits. So I'm putting everything away pretty much and living a real simple life. So let's say I make 4,000 a week, spend like 500 on fuel, maybe like 150 on food, $100 on gas, and you know the rest. It's for me. I put it away. I should have calculated that number. I didn't do that one.
That's okay. It gives me a starting point. At least you're well above a $500 net cash flow monthly. I can just tell just based on what you're rattling off there. So I want to be totally transparent with you. I mean, obviously, you know, you sound hungry. That's important. Your circumstances are not all that complex. You're not coming to this conversation with this mystery box of moving parts. This is not we've got to really untangle all the weeds and really get things set straight in order for you to begin construction on sort of a bigger recipe, if you will. So your main project needs to be adding new moving pieces to this, right? And that leaves us in a slightly different camp than somebody who's coming to me and has a lot of things that they want to be focusing on in addition to building more. You're really focusing on that building more phase. And I mentioned to you, I really like to spend most of my time on that. Even when I'm with somebody that has a lot of debt that we want to tackle and pay off, getting certain loans restructured in order for them to be a lot more affordable or just a lot less cost of interest, getting things restructured from a tax advantage standpoint, all of that I like to try to reduce to as little time as possible. And I try to get it into under 5% of my time that I spend with somebody, so that 95% of our time can be spent on unlimited income potential. In your case, that's where you're starting. That's where you're starting. And it makes it a little bit more challenging from the ongoing coachability standpoint, because it all boils down to personality. At least I know when somebody comes in and they have those other details that need to be cleaned up, they're going to get exponentially more out of the relationship than the cost to participate.
Kind of makes sense.
It's very simple. The rest can remain speculative, meaning I'm speculating that that person's actually going to be proactive enough to do the steps and the homework after each coaching session in order to actually make progress, so that by the end of 1 year, we're looking at each other and saying, that was well worth it. That was worth the money you spent. But if you're coming in and I don't have all of those other things that I can finesse for you in order for you to get the return on the investment for coaching, then it all falls on your shoulders. It falls on your shoulders. You have to come into these coaching sessions and you've got to be willing to follow through with the homework I provide. Sometimes that might mean you need to read this book. You got to read this book, right? Well, just giving that one homework assignment can trip somebody up for, I'm telling you, months and months and months, even though literally you could download the Audible of a book, you could listen to it and be done with it in 1 day. It still is such a challenge for some people. And so I have to be as clear with you as possible that if there was a time where we're working together on a more consistent basis over an extended period of time, I'm dependent on you. And if I can't get a commitment, it doesn't mean I think any differently about you. It just means it's not going to be a great fit. And I want to dedicate my time to people that I know I'm going to get the results from, because I'm going to stand behind the relationship with what we call a can't lose coaching guarantee. And it's bar none best thing that I've seen as far as a guarantee is offered. I see all these sort of gimmicky guarantees. The only thing I tell people is they have to show up. If you sign up for coaching with me and I don't see you for 6 months, you're never going to get a refund from me. I'm not going to refund you. If all you're doing is showing up for an entire year and you're taking my time for an entire year and you're showing up every month, at the end of 1 year, if you say, dude, that wasn't worth the money, I'm going to say, what was it worth? And if you say, oh man, probably like 2,000 or 3,000 less than what I paid, I'm going to give you $3,000 back. I will make you whole. You tell me what it was worth and I'll make you whole. And that means if somebody says that thing was worthless, I got nothing out of it, I'm going to give them a full refund. That doesn't mean that I'm taking on a monetary risk in the relationship. It means I'm taking on a time risk, which is worth far more than the money I'm charging for the relationship, because it's the least profitable business that I own. So I only take on 5 new coaching members each month. That's it. We used to take on anywhere between 20 to 30 a week. We've scaled this business way back because of the successes all of our other businesses have been having. However, I refuse to let this thing go with respect to the coaching entirely, because I adore it. I'm literally, I could safely say I could easily be diagnosed as clinically obsessed with it, clinically addicted. Okay, I love it. Yeah. This to me is the most fun. I've been anticipating this call today probably as much as you have been. And I don't want to ever get rid of this, but 5 a month I can still handle with every one of my other businesses. So literally an entire team of coaching that we don't have now. I do all the coaching myself personally. Wow. So you would work with me directly for an entire year. And again, in your case, because of your unique situation where you're in a building stage right now, getting rid of a truck loan of $43K and $3,500 of credit card debt is the least of my priorities. I'm going to give you a few simple steps and that's it.
I have it covered if I wanted to. I have enough saved to pay it off, actually. But
how much do you have? How much do you have liquid right now? Just give me a ballpark as far as what you've saved up.
In credit cards, I have $19,000 that I could use, and I have one.
No, I'm talking liquid cash, like checking and savings.
39,000 that I have put away, plus 4,000 that I got from the grant. Well, I already spent 1,000 in repairs. Okay. So 43 put away, stacked up, which I saved that up pretty quick in about 10 months. I mean, being disciplined, right? Like not spending too much money on unnecessary things.
So conceptually, hear me out. I can't tell you where you're going to be making your next dollar. I can't. I cannot order someone as a coaching assignment because cattle happens to be trading at an all-time high, to quit their job, sell everything they own, and move to Texas to buy a cattle ranch and start ranching cattle, right? It could be the best business in the world. And it would be ridiculous to think that I'm going to give somebody a homework assignment to go out and start a cattle ranching business, right? That's the same applies to any business at all. I can't tell you what business you're going to be starting or how you're going to make your next dollar. Just because I'm doing well in a drain business doesn't mean I'm going to try and convince you to start a drain business. What we have to do collectively is figure out how to make that next 10K every month, how to make that next 25K every month, how to make that next 50K every month. And it usually starts, like I said, right at home base. Start to analyze whether or not there's ways that we can beef up this business, this trucking career that you've taken on. How do we beef this thing up and or diversify into other areas? Real estate is always factored. It just would not be the linear focus. I would probably prioritize going out and finding a 20 unit, 40 unit apartment complex much lower than you will, because I know you're very, very excited about this prospect. And that's great. What I want to do as a coach of anybody is be the devil's advocate. I want to be the skeptic. I want to be the one that says, prove it. Prove it to me, dude. You want to buy a 40 unit complex? Let me try to poke holes in it, because the best thing I can do for you is figure out that you're making a mistake before you do. And sometimes that means I got to play the bad guy. It's not a real fun role, because people come to me with the things they're most excited about, and then I'm the one that kind of shits all over it. And it's literally the best person to have in your corner is going to be the devil's advocate that could say, what would be the deal breakers here? Because if we can get to those deal breakers and we can get there as quickly and as inexpensively as possible, it could save you years and tremendous amounts of money. So what we don't want to do is get into something and then 5 years later wish that we hadn't, right? We want to catch it before that happens. And that can happen very easily in any type of business. So what I would encourage and ask for from you is your willingness to remain open-minded. Coming into the conversations ready to talk about anything and everything. It becomes more of a collaborative mastermind in this type of a setting than it is the same sort of direct structured coaching that happens when you come in and I'm telling you how to pay the debt off. I can teach you how to pay the debt off, and that's going to be very structured. The other type is we're ping-ponging ideas, and they call it a mastermind for a reason, because we together as two brains will always be 10x more powerful than your brain by itself. It's not 2x. It's exponentially more powerful than us by ourselves. So having that extra set of eyes or that extra brain power is important. And I'm not the end all be all. The buck doesn't stop with me. I'm not suddenly replacing you needing legal advice. I'm not suddenly replacing the bankers that you'll have to apply for loans through to get, or your real estate agent that helps you buy the next property you get. I'm not your accountant. I'm just one spoke in the wheel. There's a lot of people that will play a role in your success. And there's a lot of people that play a role in mine. So you just have to be able to come into those coaching sessions, and I have to be confident enough in you as a person, because the decision for me to work with you for a year and be willing to stand behind it with a full money back guarantee boils exclusively down to your personality, which makes it harder for me because that's subjective. There's the likability factor. There's the believability factor. I have to know that you're going to be tenacious, that you're going to be out there hustling and doing what we say, because if you don't, and by the end you come back and want your money back, I'm in trouble and I wasted a year of my time. With other people, it's a little less subjective. It's a little bit more mathematical, because I can look at the numbers and be like, no matter what, as long as you do this, we're going to get these types of mathematical results. And the rest of it, we can cross our fingers for. In your case, it's just fingers crossed. And the likability factor is on point. You know that, I'm sure. You probably get along with everybody, dude. You're a very likable guy. I could see you being a really fun guy to work with. Good listener. That's a huge thing for me too, because obviously I like to talk. But beyond that, I can tell you're soaking things up. Generally, I can conclude that makes you probably a pretty good student. You probably sponge. You've obviously been applying techniques of ours for years. So that shows me that you actually are an action taker. I'm connecting dots through this entire call and making certain assumptions about you as a result of that. But it's all positive so far. I mean, if you know, it's your type of personality that I end up walking away from these conversations with the highest amount of believability in. And you're not going to be the exception to that. So, you know, going into this, I'm just trying to make sure you understand my position here, because it is a little more challenging when it comes to working together on a more consistent level. But in your case, this stuff is pretty simple, dude. Number one, I would say with the savings that you have, you should be paying those credit cards in full. There's no reason in the world, if you're paying interest on those cards, if they're not 0%, they should be paid off. Are they zero?
I was literally waiting for you to tell me that. I was like, okay, I got this money, because I have been paying these down, and I want to see what advice he's going to give me. And pretty much, if there's no reason for them to be there, because I'm just giving them free money with the interest every month. You're right.
You're never going to care. You're never going to revolve another credit card balance as long as we know each other.
There's a strategy for using them. So, I mean, yeah, I was waiting for you to tell me that. So pay them off.
Well, we want to keep using them. You're going to use them every single month for absolutely every expense that you purchase. We're going to separate them out into two categories. We're going to be doing a business side and a personal side. Anything that's for the business that's tax deductible is going to go on one card. Everything that's personal, that's not tax deductible, will go on your personal side. Both sides, business and personal, are going to be rewards accounts that earn you money for using. Every single time we have that balance of week, we're going to pay it in full. And in the coaching, I'm actually going to insist that you pay these balances in full daily, not monthly, not multiple times a month. Every time when we get up, and we're so used to grabbing our phones before we even get out of bed, we haven't even peed or taken a drink of water, grab our phone. I go into my banking. Most people go into social. I just log into my banks. I go right to the accounts. Oh, there's a balance there. Pay it in full. There's three main benefits of doing it this way, which I'll admit every time is overkill. This is overkill. I think sometimes overkill is beneficial. The reason that I do this is, number one, it forces me to check that transaction history. Because if I just paid a $450 balance yesterday, and now there's a $276 balance today, the first question that always comes to my mind is, what the hell did I buy? You know, why is there always a balance? So I'm always checking transaction history, okay? Which helps me stay more accountable to an appropriate spending plan, okay? It's a way of staying on track with my budgeting and just containing my unnecessary spending. Number two, it's allowing me to monitor exactly what's going on as far as my identity. I have found 3 transactions over the last 12 months that were unauthorized. It's not uncommon for that to happen. You've probably experienced it at least once in your life. Numbers can get out there. I hand my credit card to a lot of people during the day. So I want to make sure that I'm protecting myself and my identity. If you don't catch identity theft early, it can be a lot harder to deal with down the road. Catching it right away, you can usually mitigate it really, really simply. Number 3 is the best way for me to keep my credit scores higher, is to constantly have the lowest balance I possibly can, so that when the reporting cycle comes up, without me having to monitor the reporting cycle, I know that they're reporting a very, very small balance, if anything at all. So those are the 3 main reasons that I pay my balance every single day versus trying to beat the statement closing deadline, or paying before the due date, which would be my other 2 options. Okay, so if you're working with me, that's going to be my number 1 recommendation, is we're using our credit cards for everything we're buying that allows us to, unless they charge a fee for it. If they charge a fee for it, it's not going to be worth it. And we're paying them every single day that there's a balance. We're going to double check what that balance is and pay it in full. And we're going to separate those 2, personal from business, to make our ledger and our accounting at the end of the year really, really easy. So when we go to the tax man, we're not sorting and qualifying. Well, I think this was a business expense, and I think that was a personal expense. Everything's not commingled together, making it much more difficult for us to categorically determine what we should be writing off. Do you have a business credit card yet?
No. Yes. And man, Bank of the West has not been my best friend, and I've used them forever. And Capital One gave me a credit card right away for business.
Good.
So I love Capital One. Man, I tried twice, I believe, with Bank of the West so I could get some business credit with them. Denied. U.S. Bank as well. When I was trying to buy my second semi truck, it was part of the package. They were gonna give me a loan and a credit card. Got denied. So I was bummed out that I couldn't start credit there. And I was like, hey, Capital One, let me check out the app. And they did. They gave me, it's now up to 4,800. No, wrong
Right.
one. Business. 4,000. They gave me, started with 1,000 and it just went up to 4.
Right. And do you have a Credit Karma account yet?
Yes.
Great.
I use
We'll be
more
digging in.
Experian now. Experian? But yeah, I have a credit card.
We'll be using the Credit Karma account if you decide coaching is what you need. All right. So I see a lot of promise, dude. I see a lot of promise in you. I see a lot of promise in you if you don't work with me too. You're going to do well either way, man. You don't need me to do well. I encourage you to work with people that you believe in. Even if it's not me, that's completely acceptable, of course, but work with people for sure. And I can see it, you know, and hear it in your voice and in the things you've said that that's something that you stand for too. And I'm vouching for that opinion. My success is owed to a wall of people. My wall of gratitude is huge, dude, huge. And so I'm glad to hear that that's where you stand. As far as our coaching is concerned, just so you're aware of the updates that have been made, because there's been enhancements beyond just the switch to 5 members a month. What I'm going to normally do if I see somebody that I think is a good candidate is I'm going to send you out, a link that you can go to where, as a subscriber to the channel and you've been following a long time, we offer our YouTube audience and our referral audience members, people who have been referred over from other past graduates, the largest discount that we provide. Those 2 groups of people get the biggest discount. Once I've basically had the chance to have a conversation with somebody who categorically I think fits the description of somebody that would be eligible, somebody that would be a good fit, then I basically say, hey, this discount is green lighted, and it'll be green lit until the end of the day tomorrow. I don't want to force anybody to make any snap decisions. I think it's important to sleep on it. Talk to your girlfriend. I don't know if you guys share your expenses or your finances yet. I certainly discourage people from doing that until you're married. I think it's better to keep everything separated, and you can have agreements as to who pays what in the meantime. But chat it over with her as far as getting her input or anyone else that you trust. And I'll honor that discount until the end of the day tomorrow. If at any point you're sort of at a standstill and you just want time to think about it, I completely support you in that. However, you'll pay the same price that everybody else pays after tomorrow. And the reason I do that is to create some level of equality, because I don't want it to come across that we're purely favoring our YouTube audience and our referrals. I think it's a little unfair in some ways, but we do want to offer that slight incentive to our members, because it's pretty significant. It's $5,000 discount. We work together for an entire year. And there's no limit to the number of coaching sessions you can have during that year. Typically speaking, it works out to be about an average of 1 a month. So you've got to commit that type of time to me one-on-one. And between the coaching sessions will matter substantially more than the session itself. Meaning, this is very similar to when I was a cellist for 10 years, and I was lucky enough to study under a world famous cellist. He was the conductor of the symphony I played in. And man, he was a prick. This Austrian guy with this thick accent. He was missing his finger was missing, so he'd play, it was his bow finger, and he would just point at you with his middle finger, man. He was just so hard on us. And I'll never forget his face yelling at me. And the thing is, I got to a point where I just wasn't really enjoying playing the cello anymore. I just wouldn't practice. And I would just kind of show up each week and try to sight read and keep up and just try to rely on my natural talent. And, I sucked, dude. I went from second cellist in the symphony to last chair. It was a quick downward spiral when I wasn't willing to take the time between each lesson to improve. So that practice and really taking away from each call what's needed between the sessions to come back to the next call prepared with everything completed is essential. Okay. So could that easily be hours a week that I'm going to be needing to get from you in order to get things moving? And it could be considerably more than that. If we're trying to build a business together, I need you to be dedicated to that kind of stuff. So just know that going in. And if you're ready for this next chapter of your life, dude, then I'd be totally honored to be playing a small role in it for sure. Cause I think you've got a bright future. So, do you have any questions about any of that I can answer for you?
Well, I just first want to say, if you need to be Chef Ramsey and yell at me and take it to that intensity, I 100% understand it, because when I was 18 years old, I wanted to go to the Marine Corps and I wanted them to yell at me. I like intensity, man. I mean, personally, I love heavy metal, so I'm into the intensity. And I know that, I mean, I love martial arts, and you need a good sifu, a good teacher, you know, and sometimes they're not going to be nice. It's the toughness that really disciplines you and molds you. And if that's what you got to be, I think that's what you're kind of trying to tell me, like, hey, we're not messing around here. This is my time, my life, and I need you to be dedicated. And I understand that. So I don't want to waste your time at all. Like, now I'm trying to measure, like, oh man, okay, I'm here and this is not playing around anymore. And so I'm so many things are going through my mind. I kind of forgot the goal right now.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure. I just wanted to make sure that if you had any other questions about the formatting and the dynamic of the relationship moving forward, that I can get those answered for you so that you can digest and process everything overnight. In the meantime, as far as next steps, like I said, I want to make sure that after this call, just immediately go in and just pay those accounts in full, those credit card accounts, get rid of those. Okay. That alone will have been an extremely valuable step to take away from just this call. Moving forward, one of the early things we would do, and I can't really advise on this until I have a chance to really dig into your credit. I would log into your actual Credit Karma account with you, and we'll just go through that together, and I can start to give you some suggestions as to where we would start building new accounts that'll serve you as far as potentially some better rewards programs out there. I want you to get the best rewards, and maybe you've got an account that's really good now, but there are certainly differences between one credit card and the next. So I want to make sure you're getting paid as much as you can by being out there using stuff, especially when you're doing a business, man, because it's expensive to run a business. Any of these repairs, all the fuel you're buying, that stuff should be earning you cash back every chance you can get. So we'll get into all that early on. Those are the structured steps that are easy breezy. We want to spend as much of our time beyond that on the building and construction side to where, okay, how do we really jack this thing up to where you're realizing thousands and then tens of thousands and then six figures more at the end of each month than you had previously. And it'll be a process. I always say 10 years or less. I want this to be as realistic as it can be for everybody. That's why getting started at your age is awesome. How old are you?
Gonna be 34 on the 25th of this month.
Great. So if you're making $1 million a year by the time you're my age, 44, would you be happy with that? $1 million a year?
Oh yeah, that's way more than enough. That's more than enough.
Great. So that's a realistic timeline. Okay. And what our goal together would be during this year is to build out a plan where you can see that happening within the next 10 years.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay.
The plan's always the best, you know, instead of out there guessing.
And, you know, you learn a lot as you go, man. I mean, look, second year in on this drain business in an industry I never even imagined I would be a part of. I would have laughed at you if 2.5 years ago you said I was going to be the number 2 businessman, because I just think it's hilarious that I'm even in this industry. But we're always learning. Always learning. You know, now I'm out there buying all this heavy equipment. Never thought I'd own an excavator. Now I own an excavator, you know, getting ready to buy my first skid steer. It's fun, man. But it's new for me too. And so even with plans and even with counsel and great mentorship and people that I can go and bounce ideas off of, you know, anytime I get into something that there might be liability, I'm on the phone with my attorney, and it's a very similar relationship to the one I'm going to have with you. You know, he just absorbs what I bring him and gives me his feedback. You know, legally, here's how I have to be thinking about things. And I get off the call and implement what he says, and come back a month later and say, here's all, my new legal questions I have for you. So when you come to your coaching sessions, you come in basically ready to say, here's what I've been working on. Yep. Not just open-minded, but you actually have topics that you've been writing down throughout the month that you want to make sure we have a chance to discuss, right? Here's what my research led me to. What do you think about this or that and the other? And that's true even if you're ready to make some big financial decisions too. Like, hey, dude, I was thinking about getting a second truck. Tell me about it. Give me as much detail about it as you can. Let me play the skeptic and try to poke holes in it. And if I can't, maybe you're onto something.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So much information has gone, through our conversation. So what's like the short-term game plan? Like where am I going to be starting? Because I know you said, hey, and I'm open-minded about not going straight to real estate, because that was just like two short-term goals that I have. I'm not saying real estate is all I want to do. I'm open to scaling multiple businesses. Scaling this trucking business is in my plans, but not right away, because I've been driving for like 7-8 years. I'm like, I had enough of it. I want to learn something new.
So usually what I start off by doing is giving folks that are open-minded to other streams of revenue a list of revenue streams that have caught my attention over the last 12 months and provide me sort of what I would describe my magic wand lifestyle to be. And what did I tell you it was, right? Basically geographical mobility, right? That was the summary of what I said. Go anywhere, anytime, leave whenever I want, stay as long as I want, and be generous and selfish and not worry about price tags. What does that basically tell you? If I reverse engineer that response, it means I better find a way to work online, right? Which means I can essentially rule out any way of making money that requires me to be somewhere. That's a lot of businesses. That's a lot of income streams, right? If I wanted to be involved in, say, opening a brokerage and running a real estate company, that would be an extremely difficult thing to do if I want to just pick up and leave any old time. Can't exactly get in the car and drive around and show people's houses if I don't want to be certain places and have obligation like that. So geographical mobility was number one on my top priorities, which means all the links that I send are like, hey, for somebody that wants geographical mobility, because I have not met one person yet that doesn't at least fall into the category of, I want to be able to go anywhere, anytime, stay as long as I want, and be generous and selfish and not worry about price tags. Everybody wants that. Now, your version might be, well, I've got my kid brother. He happens to be a great soccer player. I'd love to just be able to go to his games. It might be I have grandkids. I really just want to be able to spend time with them. It might be I want to travel the world. It might be I want to live on a boat. That's all semantical, right? Those variations are logistical. That's the overarching summary of go anywhere, anytime, to me meant I needed to be online. To me, it meant I personally needed to be online. That might not be true for you. So what we have to do first and foremost is understand, what do you really want, right? You want a house in Pasadena. I got that. Great. That's one great goal. What else, right? What does an ideal lifestyle look like for you? Because we always want to prioritize lifestyle before earnings potential. I don't care if I don't care about 5 million a year, 10 million a year. If you're telling me I got to go into this office and wear this suit and tie every day, I don't care about your money at that point. Deal breaker. Lifestyle first, always. So we have to understand what ideal lifestyle means to you. And then I share this list of links just to start planting seeds in your mind, right? Things that have caught my attention that have sort of appealed to me from a lifestyle standpoint that I could do from anywhere, just to give you some concepts. And then from there, we start to sort of dig into other people's content and channels in order to land on things where we're like, oh, damn, I could see myself doing that. Like that connects with me in some way, right? I can feel it. I can feel, physiologically, I'm kind of excited about that little idea right there, right? I can picture myself doing it. And then from there, we start to hone in on that. And maybe there's 3 of those, maybe there's 5 of those, right? And we start to pick apart each one. And like I said, the best objective at that stage is to run to the deal breakers. We've got to find the deal breakers as fast as possible before we invest more time than we need to, and certainly before we invest any money. Most of the time we can find those deal breakers before a single dollar is spent, just by doing the research. And the way we do that is figure out, what the hell is this person that's making this kind of money doing this, what are they doing all day, every day? All right. What is their collection of tasks? What is their collection of tasks? Well, you can do anything. I mean, within reason. I mean, you maybe can't play for the NBA, but I'm just saying, we can all learn. You can learn how to edit a video, right? That stuff is all simple. You just have to get in and practice it. Now, you may say, dude, I don't have a creative bone in my body. I can't really see myself wanting to outsource this thing. I don't want to work with anyone else. Or you might say, I don't want to be on the phone. I don't want to be on the phone. If you don't want to be on the phone, that rules out a huge percentage of business opportunities, right? Again, that's right. And that's okay. Totally acceptable. I've found plenty of examples of ways that you can make unimaginable amounts of money and not have to be on the phone. You might say, I don't want to be on camera. I'm too shy, be too uncomfortable. And I would say, great. We just know that means that's a deal breaker. Well, what if we're digging into an idea and you really like it, but then you find out, well, I got to be on the phone for 5 hours a day and I don't want to be a phone guy. Deal broken. You see what I mean? So we're trying to just sort of pick where your strengths are complemented with the opportunity. But I can't tell you what to do. I can't just be like, dude, it's just too bad. You got to be on the phone 5 hours, man. I know you refuse to do it. You hate it, but that's going to be your new life because that's where the money is. And that's why I can never tell you where your next business opportunity is. All I can do is help you identify that. And collectively, we start narrowing it down. And then we get to work and we scale it up to a point where you solve the short-term net cash flow equation. You start putting thousands more every month into the bank. And then we buy real estate, and real estate's a lot easier when you're doing it in that order.
So now that you've spoken to me for a couple minutes, what do you think I'm gonna be pumped up about? What do you see? Like, hey, this guy might be interested in this and that.
I think first and foremost, I see you as somebody that would be great in any type of customer interaction, customer service, hospitality.
I did work at Jack in the Box for like 3 years. I mean,
I could see you being good. I could see you being good at it, man. I mean, like I said at the beginning, I just think you're very likable, and that goes a long way. And there is more money to be made by having a skill of being very personable than any other quality. Being personable and being likable is worth, in my opinion, far more than being intellectual in the open market. Because it means that you can be great at sales.
Okay.
And sales is just connecting a problem with a solution. So you're not talking somebody into buying something that they don't need or want. You're helping connect someone to what they need to be better off. So I think you would be fabulous interacting with human beings. Fabulous at it. And there's a lot more money in that. There's a lot more money in that in those options than in options that remove you from that requirement. Those options exist, but there's a lot more money to be made if you're willing to interact with people. So I think I can keep you on track. I've got a couple ideas for you for sure that I think you would be very good at. And it's no different than starting your trucking business. But what you've basically done is you've built yourself a job, right? If you're looking at Kiyosaki's quadrants, you've basically solopreneur'd your way into a job. You don't have a boss, but without you in the, yeah, go ahead.
Was he your teacher? Was he one of your mentors?
Not in a direct sense, similar to you.
Just curious. I mean, if you believe in me, if you think you got something here with me, if you think I'm a good prospect as a student, I will take the risk, man, because calculated risk, of course, because if you believe in me, then I believe in me. And that pumps me up like, hey, if you're going to look at me and tell me, you know what, dude, not yet for you, I'll accept that. I mean, I really want your honesty right there. Like, if you don't think I'm ready, hey, you know what, I'll come back later. If you think, hey, if you start now, you have a really high chance of success, then then I'll take that.
Yeah, challenge. I've gotten all too comfortable telling people no, not yet. Over the years, it was always at least 50% of the time where someone would be disqualified. I found that through my YouTube interactions, the number has improved slightly because I think people have taken enough time on the front end to consume enough of my content to determine whether or not, from a personality standpoint, we're going to get along. They know they like me, and usually I end up liking them because they see something in me that resonates. Whereas if I'm just publicly speaking and I'm doing, say, a lecture in front of a couple hundred investors, and I'm telling them about what we serve people with, and talking about our memberships, and all of a sudden I have sort of a first meeting, and we always go through an assessment call with every single person. Every single person has to come through me. And it'll be an hour, it's not much different than this now, before I really understand who they are and what their financial situation looks like. And there were a lot of personality discrepancies with that audience, right? Because they haven't spent tens of hours going through my videos and reaching out proactively on their own. They're just sort of taking me up on something that they heard after a 1 hour educational lecture. So it's certainly improved the numbers coming in from just the traffic on YouTube, which is a huge number of people. That's why the wait, when you said your wait for your free coaching session was 3 months, dude, shortly after, when you signed up for that, whatever that was, 5, 6, 7 years ago, for literally 4 or 5 years straight, it was almost a year. It was anywhere between 11 to 12, 13 months wait for the free coaching session. And the turn up was still amazing. I mean, I couldn't believe that more people just didn't no-show me when I called. People would have it in their calendars. They're like, dude, I've been waiting for this for almost a year. And I'm like, it blew my mind to the point where I had to stop doing them, because I was giving out anywhere between 4 to 6 free coaching sessions a day, an hour in length. So 4 to 6 hours a day on the phone for free. And my business partners are like, dude, what the F are you doing, bro? Like, you cannot, your time is worth, you can't just be doing this. Even though I love them, it got to the point where they sort of pulled back the reins on me. And so we just stopped for a while. I finally got to the point where I said, listen, let me just open this up again. I'll do it on a more restricted basis. We'll have some educational opportunities for the channel where we'll be able to at least teach people. And they're open to it. And then we scaled back to the 5 new members a month. So it's great. I have the time to focus elsewhere. Point being that we have more demand than we have supply. I can be incredibly selective about who we bring in and always get to the 5, which means that I don't have anything to gain or lose by telling somebody that they would be a good fit. And I'm only telling you that to encourage you to know that if I say you're a good fit, it's because I believe it. I would be much better off if I don't believe in you yet for any reason to tell you that, look, let's revisit this in 3 months. Let's look at it again in 6, or let's wait a year, or maybe this is never going to work because, I see something that would just, wouldn't be a perfect match. In your case, I don't know. I get a good vibe, man. I get a good vibe. And it is speculative. I don't know you very well yet, of course. It's first impressions.
I feel like I know you so much.
I know, it's weird. I'm sure that's always a weird. I know it's weird because I reach out to some of my favorite YouTubers, and it's always funny because I feel like I know them, and they don't have any idea who I am. So anyhow, yeah, I believe that this will be a great success story, and my goal is always to make enough of an impact on somebody to where they can't wait to get back on the channel and share, scream it from the mountaintop and tell everybody how well they've done. So I would love for that to be you. I want you to be a success story. And I'm committed to making that happen. So as long as you're putting in the work between the calls, all I have to do is come up with one great idea between now and the end of a year for that to be the best money you ever spent. And so I'll text you over the link for the discounted so that you have it. And as long as you go in, you pay for the membership first, it'll redirect you to the forms. You sign them right there electronically. You don't have to print anything out. It's very straightforward and simple. And from there, we get you on the calendar for the first coaching session. I'm going to probably have that initial call be sort of a freebie for you, just because you're having some difficulty with the cash flow cruncher. So I'll have you get everything updated on your end, and I'll fill out the cruncher for you as long as you have all the numbers. And that first coaching session will be sort of a complimentary call, and then I'll email you over the completed cruncher.
Man, like I said, I'm kind of backed up on technology. Excel, right? I got to buy the program for the computer and download it for the desktop.
I think it's $365, but I think you can get an open source. You can get an open source version of Excel that you don't have to pay for. And, you know, I would just go into YouTube and just get a quick tutorial. It'll be easier for you to watch somebody explain it in a concise way versus hearing me try to fumble my way through giving you an explanation.
I was up till midnight trying to do that, but my computer, I figured out how to get the free one, but the download wouldn't complete, and I was just driving me crazy. So I think I need to take my computer here and get like a clean out or something. I was planning on buying a new desktop and new setup anyways for the beginning of the year. Start fresh and a new setup.
Well, here's the thing. This is not going to be urgent for you, whereas it would be for other people. So typical formatting of our coaching sessions would require this to be an early stage action step. In your case, I don't think so because of what you've shared so far. Just the bare minimum of the information you've given me already has me conclude that, right? I'm already fully aware of your debt. Very simple. You have living expenses, pretty straightforward, staying with the girlfriend, you know, you have some standard costs of living, et cetera, costs to the business. Really where we're going to be diving in and spending our attention, as I've said over and over again, is on the building side, right? So as long as you're committed to just getting this computer issue and this cash flow cruncher stuff within the first couple months, we're going to be fine. It does not hold us up. Right now we're seating for our January 5. We're obviously at capacity for the December group, and they fill up early stage of each month. So yeah, if you get this stuff back, we can get you in for the January, and you'll be off to the races. And we'll just start spending our time in the early portions of this. We'll get into credit and take a look on that. We'll determine whether or not any applications should be done for any new debt weapons, meaning potentially better credit cards would be where my initial focus is for you. From there, we'll start to look into other businesses. I want you to leave the cash in the bank outside of paying off those credit card balances. So you get that 35 paid to zero, 3,500, and you leave the rest in the bank. Don't touch it, just leave it alone and continue to allow it to grow. Okay, for now, we will find a use for it, but your ultimate debt weapon right now in focusing on alternative revenue streams, whatever those revenue streams end up being, is going to be that cash in the bank. Wouldn't you rather have your own cash to finance your revenue than to go out and borrow money to finance your revenue? In most cases, it'll serve you. I love leverage. I love using debt productively. But when it boils down to safety and security, there is no safer way than to make so much money that your next biggest problem is, where the hell do I put all this money? And being able to put that money into new revenue is fabulous. So that's why we reinvest in the business. That's why I just dumped another 300K into the drain business 2 months ago and bought all that heavy equipment and bought new machines, hired on 4 new guys. So, you know, that's reinvesting into the business. So
are you going to go down there and drive the excavator?
I'm definitely going to drive the excavator. I'm going to be steering as clear as possible from drains, because I've seen our YouTube videos and I want nothing to do with it. And I've got guys that have no problem getting other people's nasty all over them, and that's not me. So I personally intentionally don't even know what a drain looks like. I'm proud to say. I have no idea how to find the drain. Actually, that's not true. I have some ideas, but yeah, I'll be driving the excavator, but just to toy around on my property out there. I've got 5 acres, so I'm just gonna go.
My second trucking job was construction, so I was around excavators all day. They look fun, but just being out there in that 80, 90, 100 degree Cali weather was, damn, it looks intense.
These new ones are nice, man. Air conditioned cab, heated cab. So yeah, they're all climate controlled, and they make the new ones really comfortable. So yeah, I mean, I'm not excited about the frigid cold either, but
oh yeah,
you know, you got to do what you got to do in that sense. So anyhow, all good, man. Well, I appreciate your time today either way. Let me know what you decide. You can shoot me a text. No skin off my back if you decide to wait. Like I said, the only incentive for you as far as between now and the end of the day tomorrow is the price comes down by 5 G's. It's a big discount we give to our YouTube audience. So just take a look at it. In your case, it would not make sense to do the monthly, man. Do not do the monthly. If you're going to do this, you should be doing it out of your liquid reserves. You should be paying for it up front. It costs you an extra $2,000 plus to do it on a monthly basis by the end of the year. So there's no sense in you paying an extra $2,000 for financing this versus just paying for it. You have the ability. That money is not on standby for any specific reason yet. Therefore, let's get this thing rolling and let me get an ROI on that money that far surpasses what you spent. And we'll just start compounding what was there. You'll have that money replenished in no time.
So it's a year subscription that I'm paying for front?
Correct.
And how much is that? Because I don't remember how much it was on the website, because I did scroll through it, but.
So the discounted price, let me check where our new prices is. The team went in and we just modified it. It's going to be going up again at the end of the year. Anyhow, so that means the original price. I would still honor the original full price for you, just not the discounted price. So if you go to VIP Financial Ed online, VIPfinancialed.com, I'm going to tell you what the discounted amount is. So we increased the price 2 months ago to the full pay is $13,770. We discount that down by 5, so it's just under $9,000 for the whole year, $8,770. If you pay monthly, it's $860 per month. $860 ends up at $10,320. So about $1,500, well, closer to $1,700 additional on the monthly.
Okay.
All righty.
Sounds good.
All right, my man. Well, any other questions that I can answer for you?
Were you texting me directly from your cell phone?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
you got my mobile.
Okay, I'll save it there.
Yeah, that's my business mobile. Yeah, feel free to save that. Shoot me a text, and then yeah, I'll keep a lookout. I'll tell the team to kind of keep a lookout. If you decide that you're going to move forward, look at your process, and I'll shoot you a text, and we can get right on the calendar. Just get this thing popping. Make it a great year, bro. 2023, breakout year.
I'm not even paying attention to all that negative stuff on the news and everything. I'm just pumped up because I'm gonna make it happen. We're gonna make it happen no matter what.
Dude, I mean, negative to some, doesn't mean it's negative for all of us.
Yeah,
a lot of us are excited about this stuff getting shaken up right now, man. It's long overdue, and this is where the best opportunities end up happening. I mean, imagine if in 2010, 11, 12, 13, you were out scooping up doors. A lot of people in 2010 wouldn't touch real estate with a 10-foot pole, man, including the banks.
Well,
everybody was terrified of real estate. Time machine would prove a lot of people would go back and do it differently. And a lot of opportunities in the downturns, a lot. So it's going to be fun.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, it was amazing. And I'll definitely get that answered for you.
Awesome. Dude, you too, Alex. Thank you so much for your time as well, my man. I appreciate you, and looking forward to working with you, dude.
Me too. All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. There you have it, guys. What a wonderful guy, man. I love you, dude. You viewers are the best. And when I say that I have this, probably unhealthy obsession with these coaching sessions, it's probably an understatement. I mean, we're going to edit out a lot of this video, but that was, an hour and 45 minutes conversation because, he's just such a terrific person. Obviously not a lot that we can take away from a call where there aren't a lot of moving pieces yet. There's, trying to basically explain that there's a process of determining how to build wealth from here. He doesn't have to get a lot of things under control. He already has it under control. So that was really great to see. That means there's a lot of good opportunity, pays off the rest of his credit card debt. Credit scores continue to go up, makes him even more lendable so that we can go out and get some new baby debt weapons, some stuff that he can use for day-to-day activity. He can obviously earn himself some great cash back from those tools. That will be worth it for him, save the interest that he was paying on those credit cards for now. In the meantime, we can figure out a game plan as to whether or not it makes sense to attack and eliminate that truck balance more quickly than he would if he was just making the minimum payments. That'll boil down to what interest is he paying on those, right? On that balance. And what is he paying for that loan? Maybe it does make sense for us to go after that a little more aggressively. Then we start to look for some of the better debt weapons. These are personal lines of credit and unsecured revolving accounts that we could use same as cash to continue to build any other business ventures that he chooses to get into. So I'm going to go ahead and send him a list of different ideas and various ways of making money in today's environment, which is so much different than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. It is an exciting time to be alive, everybody. This is one of the best times to find a way to make money. Infinite opportunities of how you can make money, because there are more coming out every single day. And there are ways of evolving the old ways of making money. So I am going into next year, even with all the FUD out there, with the highest level of enthusiasm. I feel great. I hope you guys are rounding out your year well. Would love to offer you your free chance to have a one-on-one conversation with me. Go ahead and visit the link in the description below and schedule a time where we can have a conversation. Doesn't have to be published here on YouTube if that's your preference. Certainly we would love to share any education possible with the rest of you guys through these conversations. If it benefits anyone else, even just one person, it's well worth it. So that is our preference, but we always honor your wish if you don't want this to be published here on the channel. So we give you the choice. Anyhow, I hope you had a great day. Hope you're having a great week. And most importantly, keep on cash flowing. We'll see you soon.